Hey guys, this is a brief lesson on the basics of trigonometry. You'll be learning the functions sine, cosine, and tangent, and a few other things. So, to understand trigonometry, you need to know these functions. You need to know what the terms opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse mean. So, let's get right into it. So, to define the terms opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent, you'd need a reference angle. That reference angle is usually called theta. That's the default name for angles like that. So there's theta over there. So the opposite side from the angle theta is, well, let's see. So the opposite is this side right over here. So this would be the opposite side. Okay? So if you don't know what a hypotenuse is like this triangle, this part of it, because it's not straight. So these are both straight lines, and then this is a diagonal line. So the diagonal line is called the hypotenuse. So this would be called the hypotenuse. And then there's only one side left. So yeah, that's the adjacent. Nice and easy, just there. Okay. So now that we know what these terms mean, we can move on to these functions. Okay, so Pythagorean theorem will be used in trigonometry. If you don't know what Pythagorean theorem is, there's a link in the description. It's a 5-minute video that explains the Pythagorean theorem. So, now that we know what this is, moving on. If someone asks, what's the sine? The abbreviation for sine is like that, S-I-N. So the sine of theta. So what's the sine of theta? So you have to know a little mnemonic device called SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so what does SOHCAHTOA mean? So if you notice sine, cosine, tangent, kind of make the relation there. So in that way you can remember sine is so, represents so, cosine is ka, and tangent is toa. So the O represents opposite, and this H represents hypotenuse. So sine, from this S, sine is equal to the O opposite over the H hypotenuse. So there, we just defined sine. And then now if we can define cosine, we can look at this ka, and then we know it's adjacent over hypotenuse. And then we can do the same thing for toa. So using that, you know the sine of theta would be in relation to theta, the reference angle, the opposite. So let's make this value, let's make this a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So the opposite is 4. So opposite over hypotenuse value is 5. So sine of theta would equal 4 over 5, 4/5. Now moving on further, the sine, cosine, and tangent can also be used to find missing sides. And all you need to find these missing sides is the value of one side, so for example 4, and one angle, for example this angle, 28 degrees. So now, using sine, cosine, and tangent, you can find, for example, this side value. How? I'll show you how. So that's the side x. So what function, how would you know what function to use? So this would be our reference angle, the angle that's given to us. So in relation that, using that, you can find the opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. So this would be the opposite. This is the hypotenuse because it's diagonal. And then that leaves this to be the adjacent. So now that we figured that out, we can know which function to use to get x, to find this missing side. This we already know, so we have to incorporate that into what function we're using, and then we also have to incorporate this. So the only function that has opposite and hypotenuse is, let's write down the mnemonic device, so toa. Well, now we can see that opposite over hypotenuse would be sine. So we use the sine function. Sine of, instead of theta, this time we know it's 28. So sine of 28 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is 4, hypotenuse is x. But we don't want this 4 here with the x, so we do 4 divided by, and then we can take out the 4 from the other side to just make x. So now you need to get a calculator to solve this. Okay, so my calculator said that x equals 8.5202 and so on. Okay, so you should get the same answer if you plug it into your calculator, if you did it right. Just type exactly what I did here. So, and then we know that this angle is 8.5202. That's its value. Okay, so that's it for my video. Hope this helped. See you next time.